Welcome everyone! In this video, we are going to be diving into my top 5 best teams for the Ultra League. Now, it's looking like Ultra League is still going to be Ultra League for the most part, as the meta has not shifted nearly as dramatically as it did for the Open Great League. There are some new players in town, but not quite as meta-defining as we saw in the Great League. So that makes it easier to get back into the groove of Ultra, which is set to drop later on today at the time that leagues typically reset. And we have a little bit of a shakeup on the teams this season than we did last season. So without further ado, let's hop into team number 1. All right, guys, here we go. Kicking things off. Team number 1, a classic Dragon Double Steel line for the Ultra League. It leads with Giratina altered on the lead, Registeel on the safe swap, and Alolan Sandslash in the back to close. So, yeah, the Dragon Double Steel line is about as classic as it gets, but always very much effective, as those are two of the strongest typings in the entire game. So let's have a look at the scorecard here for team number 1. And not bad. We've got a B for coverage, A for bulk, A for safety, and an A for consistency. You don't get much better than that. That's a really strong scorecard. Let's have a look at these matchups. Now, Giratina on the lead, always very strong. It's a staple of the Ultra League. You can also run Dragon Breath, seeing as how you have 2 steel types in the back to handle the fairies. But generally, PvPoke does recommend Shadow Claw, but I think Dragon Breath, there's a very strong argument to be made for that, particularly for the normal and dark types. So that is something to keep in mind, but you will struggle up against a Registeel lead, so that is where Shadow Claw comes in clutch. And this is an amalgamation of the 0s and 1s, but in the 2s, Giratina actually does beat Registeel, so do keep that in mind. But one steel type that it does not beat under any circumstance is Steelix, which is why we've got these 2 Pokemon in the back, so you will have no problems with Steelix. Tapu Fini, not that bad. Reggie can handle it, but Giratina can put in work on it as well. Ideally, you'll want to catch the Moonblast on Reggie. That's how I would play that. So hang in there a little bit long enough to set up a nice clutch catch onto Registeel. Swampert, you win that in the 2s as well. Again, this is a combination, an average of the 0s and 1s. So do keep that in mind when we are going through these matchups. You beat Swampert in the 2s, which is where all battles begin. But yeah, everything's pretty straightforward here. Gliscor, that's one that you'll want to stay in on, play out the 0s, and slowly but surely whittle away. I don't believe you win that in the 2s, just because the Night Slashes are quite spammy. But Giratina puts up a fight, and if you soft lose lead, you can easily come in with your Sandslash and put in work there. But yeah, very strong team, not a whole lot to hammer home. It's pretty straightforward. Dragon Double Steel ABB line, very strong, very powerful in the meta. I wanted to protect Giratina from the Steelix that got the buff this season, so we do have adequate coverage for that in the back. So that is team number 1. Giratina on the lead, Registeel on the safe swap, and Alolan Sandslash in the back to close the game strong. So with all that said, that is team 1. Let's have a look at team number 2. All right, my friends, moving right along into team number 2. Another very powerful team for the Ultra League. It leads with Registeel, making a return, this time on the lead for team number 2. Tapu Fini on the safe swap, and Viridian in the back. A relatively balanced team for the Ultra League. So yeah, this team, quite stacked, quite strong. Let's have a look at the scorecard here. And not bad, identical to team number 1. We get a B for coverage, A for bulk, A for safety, and an A for consistency. That's a home run in my opinion. Let's have a look at these matchups, and holy smokes, this team is looking to be quite dominant. Definitely one that I will explore in the Ultra League this cycle. So Reggie on the lead, very strong. It will struggle, of course, up against the Swamperts. Viridian I want to highlight because that's a bit of a core breaker. especially if it's running the recommended Leaf Blade, which I am quite fond of on Viridian. But that's one where you will want to stay in soft lose lead and get shields off of that Viridian, because that will set up your own Viridian to come in, and even at a shield advantage, Tapu Fini can put in work there. So that's the play on a Viridian lead. It's a balanced team, so you're not forced to swap to draw out a hard counter. So you can stay in on that. Play out the zeros, try and grab shields, soft lose lead. And Gliscor also can be a bit of a challenge. That's one where I would go immediately in the hard swap. I almost never, ever recommend doing that, but you kind of want to force the swap to get some sort of advantage, whether that be a shield advantage or perhaps an energy lead. That is what's going to help you out in overcoming a Gliscor, as Viridian can hit that thing with some pretty significant neutral damage with the Leaf Blades, and it gets to them quite fast. It does outpace Gligar. The only meaningful damage is coming from those wing attacks. And Reggie can hit pretty hard, although it's all resisted. You do have the chance to lower that attack. So a bit of a team effort on Gliscor, but everything else with this team, very straightforward. It's a very powerful team, and definitely one that I will look to feature as the Ultra League progresses. Very strong scorecard, very powerful team overall. It leads with Reggie Steele on the lead, Tapu Fini on the safe swap, and Viridian in the back. So with all that said, that is team number 2. Let's have a look at team number 3. All right, my friends, we make our way to team number 3. Another very solid and powerful team for the Ultra League. It leads with Cresselia on the lead, Regirock on the safe swap, and Alolan Sandslash in the back. So Regirock, a Pokemon that often gets overlooked, but this thing is quite strong in the meta. And is a very, very powerful safe swap option. An A-Slash in the back, about as good of a closer as you can get. Cresselia protects those two Pokemon from mostly Viridian, and as well as others. So let's have a look at the scorecard here. And not bad, identical to the first two teams. We get another home run scorecard. We get a B for coverage, A for bulk, A for safety, and an A for consistency. Amazing scorecard. Let's have a look at the matchups. So not a whole lot to really hammer home here. Greedent, the newly buffed Greedent, can be quite the obstacle, but Cresselia does hang in there. The one saving grace is that Greedent does not hit particularly hard. So that's one where I would look to chip it down to about 50% health or so. And if you get a defense drop, that could be another cue to perhaps get out of there and perhaps catch the next move onto Regirock and look to play on from there. Gliscor, not that big of a deal. Gliscor, looking to be a bit of a sim hero in this meta, along with the bane of my existence when it comes to team building for these videos, Pidgeot as well. Oh my goodness, that thing drives me crazy, but that is a whole is a story for a different day or a whole nother subject. But yeah, Gliscor, not that big of a deal for Cresselia on the lead, as well as it doesn't hit particularly hard. The Night Slashes don't have stab. And I think that's about it, really, that I wanted to really hammer home. Everything else pretty straightforward with this team. Very strong team for team number 3. It leads with Cresselia on the lead, Regirock on the safe swap, and Alolan Sandslash in the back. So one more thing to note. The back two Pokemon are very solid answers to Charizard, which I do anticipate seeing quite a bit of this season as well. So yeah, that's team number 3. And with all that said, let's have a look at team number 4. All right, guys, here we go. Team number 4, another very powerful team to get you started in the Ultra League. It leads with Steelix, the newly buffed Steelix, which is looking to be a monster this season in both the Great League, as we all know, and as well as the Ultra League. Giratina on the safe swap, and Viridian in the back. So, very powerful team. Another relatively balanced team here. Let's have a look at the scorecard. And not bad. Very strong scorecard. We get a B for coverage, A for bulk, B for safety, and an A for consistency. Very strong there on the scorecard. Let's have a look at these matchups. Okay, so Steelix, going to be a very powerful and perhaps a very common lead that you will encounter in the Ultra League. If you do encounter one, it's worth perhaps playing out the ones, or just playing it out and see what comes of it. Then you can align Viridian onto it if you happen to lose lead. That one is a bit of a 50-50 toss-up. You don't want Giratina anywhere near that thing. It is a nightmare for Giratina. Registeel on Steelix, not so bad. You're going to go immediately into Giratina. Giratina does take that in the twos, so no problems there. Tapu Fini, that's another tricky core breaker for this team. If you end up encountering a lot of Tapu Fini leads at your particular elo, you can bump Viridian up to the lead and use Steelix as your closer. No matter what, I think you'll want to have Giratina as your safe swap. That's the flexibility of this team. You can somewhat run it in any order. But if you are running it in this order and you encounter a Tapu Fini, that's a bit tricky. You're just going to go into Giratina and look to play that out. Try and get shields down on that thing. Viridian up shields can be most of the Ultra League meta, with the exception of Giratina, notwithstanding. So not too hard, a bit of a challenge, but that's how I would play that. Yeah, that's really about it for Team 4. Not a whole lot to hammer home here. Very powerful team. It leads with Steelix on the lead, Giratina on the safe swap, and Viridian in the back. So with all that said, that is Team 4. Let's have a look at Team number 5. All right, my friends, last but certainly not least, Team number 5, another very powerful team for the Ultra League. We've got Giratina on the lead, Tapu Fini on the safe swap, and Steelix in the back. So another relatively balanced team for the Ultra League that has a lot of play. Let's have a look at the scorecard here. And not bad. Very strong scorecard here. We get a B for coverage, A for bulk, A for safety, and a B for consistency. Very strong scorecard there. Let's have a look at these matchups. So, Giratina on this team is your Registeel answer. So if you encounter one, again, this simulation here is an amalgamation of the ones and zeros. You do beat Registeel in the twos, so no problems there. Same goes for Swampert. So you're going to stay in on those. But Cresselia, that's another one that's very, very razor thin. You've got Steelix for that as well, but I don't know if I would really recommend safe swapping Steelix, as Cobalion and Registeel are quite common in the meta. That's worth just staying in and at least playing out the ones on a Cresselia and see what comes of that. And yeah, everything else pretty straightforward. Walrein can be a bit challenging, but not too big of a deal, really. Might need to employ a little bit of tactical maneuvering there, but nothing, not necessarily impossible to overcome. Although I'm not sure how many Walreins we'll see, because it did get unnecessarily nerfed this season, unfortunately. But yeah, that is Team 5. We got Giratina on the lead, Tapu Fini on the safe swap, and Steelix in the back to close the game strong. And that about wraps it up for my top 5 best teams for the Ultra League. Not a whole lot has changed. We do have some new players, most notably Steelix and Greedent, perhaps even Heliolisk. We'll see how that thing does. It got some love as well with Season 16, but that's really it. Not a whole lot has shifted all that much, so should be a lot of fun. It's running alongside the Element Cup Remix, so take your pick there. I know where I will be. Definitely will be in the Ultra League. But yeah, guys, I had a blast. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, I thank you for watching, and keep up the grind. Thank you, guys.